Are you considering buying a new build home in your favorite subdivision? If so, then you need to know these 10 critical things before you sign that contract. Number 1, definitely employ the services of a licensed real estate agent. We negotiate on your behalf. The builder's representative always only represents the builder, not you. You may be surprised by that. We also, one thing, it's not an easy process. It's not like buying a regular residential home that you'll close escrow in 30, 45, or 90 days. A new build takes at least 10 months, sometimes 12 months to 14 months. So it's a long process, and you need a realtor there on your behalf every step of the way negotiating for you. We also mediate disputes if something comes up between you and the builder. One thing about having a realtor represent you as well is we know where there's room to negotiate on a contract or negotiate price, get you some incentives thrown in by the builder, or also maybe even have them reduce the lot premium, what they're charging you for that lot. Number 2 is the builder's contract does not protect you. It only protects the builder. All state agencies, Department of Real Estate, have attorneys that write the contracts that realtors use for residential and commercial real estate. However, why would a builder not want to use that contract? Because they protect the buyers, right? There's lots of legal language in there that protects the buyers in those kind of contracts and sellers. So builders decided to have their own attorney write up their own builder contracts because they wanted to make sure that they had all the legal protection. So that's one thing you need us for too, because we need to be able to read that small print for you. There's lots of clauses that they put in there. For example, here's one that a lot of home buyers don't know about or aren't aware of, is that in that contract, they have a delivery clause when they can deliver your new build home and get you a certificate of occupancy. You're thinking 10, 12 months because that's what the sales agent said. But if something comes up like a wood supply, like we had happened a few years ago, or something else, they can't hire the crew, or something's going on where they're stalled or delayed on the build, a lot of times they have up to 2 years to deliver that home. And during the middle of it, if you're upset saying, hey, we sold our other house, we want to move in, it's too late. You signed the contract and the verbiage was there. That's another reason why you have us with you too, but there's lots of reasons for that. Number 3, it's really important that you are very particular when you make your selections. Be mindful of the lot that you select on the plat map. Want to make sure where it is. What floor plan is that floor plan going to meet your needs now? Would also meet your needs in 10 years. And also the upgrades that you choose. Because when you purchase a home, you all know there's a base price, right? Well, that base price is just for the base price. Just the bare minimum of what they include in the house. It doesn't include any upgrades, kitchen countertops, an upgraded cabinet or upgraded flooring. You go to the design center. So be mindful about that. And having said that, number 4 is follow a budget. First off, you're going to get pre-qualified so you know exactly how much money you have to spend when you buy that new build. So that's going to depend on what home size you get based on what the floor plan's costs are and all the amenities. Also, you have to factor in all your upgrades, and when you move in, rear yard landscaping is mostly not included. Sometimes it's not even included in the front. So you have to have enough budget to put in the landscaping in a backyard. And don't be surprised if that could cost you $20,000 to $30,000. So you have to plan for that. Number 5, the design center appointment. So the sales agent that represents the builder is going to set up an appointment for you to go to the design center to make your selections. So it's going to be very important that you use your best use of your money when you're doing upgrades, whether they're going to be structural, when you're working with the builder and saying, if I can expand the footprint of the house, make the rooms bigger, I can add on another bonus room to the back of the house. Those are structural enhancements that I think a lot of times, if that's what your family needs, they're really worth the money. So you're going to be interested about that. Another thing that you need to be aware of is the design center salesperson. Most of her job is really upselling you, trying to get you to get as much upgrades as you can. They convince you, like another kind of salesman, to buy this and to buy that. And oh, wouldn't you need this? And $150,000 later, you're like way over budget. So be mindful of that. Make really wise choices on how you use your money in terms of what selections you choose, whether you're getting upgraded windows, things of that nature. The appointment's going to last 2 to 5 hours. I've seen some go as long as 8, and I've seen some people say, I need to come back tomorrow to finish. That's really important too. So just so you know, the builder does get a kickback from the design center. They have a contract and they have an agreement where whatever you spend at the design center, they usually get a percentage of that goes back to the builder. So what happens is the design centers need to recoup that money. So they up the prices a lot of times so that they make the money they need, and then they can pay off the builder for referring you over there to do that. So that's going to be important. You definitely, I always say, make sure you get enough outlets in the rooms. When you get to choose electrical upgrades, make sure that you have sufficient outlets in the room. Sometimes people will get one in their master bedroom closet to have a small light in there. Those are things that you need to do then when they're wiring the house. Those are smart upgrades. And so flooring, stuff like that, can be done later, but you can't really open up the walls easily in the future if you want to add more electrical or you want to expand the room. That's going to be a lot more money than it would be if you paid the builder to do it in the initial stage. Number 6, solar leases. Lots of houses nowadays, especially here in Southern California, have requirements for energy efficiency. Most of the new builds come with solar systems. A lot of times they're leased. You need to understand that solar lease, how long does it last? A lot of them have a duration of 20 years. What is the payment? Sometimes you can negotiate that payment when you make the agreement with the solar company. Sometimes they're having, depending on what energy costs are, you can lock that cost in. It's a monthly fee that you pay, and most often they're paid off in 20 years. But what's going to be important is, depending on the area where you live, getting the proper insulation in the walls. Make sure that it's efficient if you have inclement weather or different types of weather. If it's really hot, really cold, you want to make sure insulation is one thing that I always say, upgrade to the best of that. And sometimes the appliance as well, low water usage toilets, things like that, shower heads are always wise too. They're really good. Number 7, construction crew roles, foundations, framers, drywall, understanding the job site. You're working with the supervisor who's on site. Lots of times when you go there, it's the job soup that will be contacting you, letting you know about certain things. But every construction zone and every construction project will hire different crews, right? There'll be crews that lay the foundation. There'll be crews that only do framing. And so you want to ask the builder there, and that's why it's important to have a realtor there. How long has this framing crew been building with you? Are they familiar with all the blueprints of all the different floor plans? Because it's important. If they're not, and they use a different kind of wood or different measurements, it can throw off the whole house. And I've seen that happen many times. So you want to make sure that all the different crews have been working with that builder for some time, and they're highly qualified, and the builder has confidence in them. That's really important, understanding that, because you will be visiting the job site often or at the sales center, and you're going to want to get to know the staff and know the people. Number 8, usually we're going to have a timeline by the builder, and you're going to check that to make sure that everything's on track for what they said will be done. Doing the framing by this, foundation will be laid, framing, we're going to be putting in the electrical. Because as you do that, once they get to a certain point, once the house is framed and they put all the electrical wiring in, you're going to have what they call a frame walk, and your realtor will attend that with you just to make sure that the things you asked for have been placed. So you wanted to outlet in your master bedroom closet, they forgot to put that in. You wanted extra outlets in your garage because everybody needs more outlets in the garage. You want to make sure that the room was expanded properly. You want to make sure at that point the quality of the wood that they use. You want to make sure that there's no damaged wood, severely damaged wood, let's say in a frame of a window, a frame of a door, that later will hinder the door opening and closing properly. Just look around the house. We'll be looking for that. But mainly, you get a good feel of the blueprint of the house when you're walking through, when it's finally all framed. But you're going to want to make sure that's all proper, and that the electrical outlets are where you ordered them to be. And then, because once they close up those walls with drywall, they're not going to take it all off to put in an extra outlet that they forgot. This is when you need to notice that. You'll also be looking at the plumbing. The plumbing lines will be in at that time. You're going to make sure that all that is there. Water is supposed to be where it is. If you had a water hose going to your refrigerator, those are things we look for at that. And then we look at the structure too. We just walk around and look at the frame and the structure. So that was number 8. Number 9. You're going to have a new home orientation. It's a walkthrough when the house is probably about 2 weeks before the house is actually finished. And so you're going to walk through at that time. We're going to walk around. They're going to look at the paint. We're going to put little blue tape markups all around the house where we found nail pops, where nails are kind of poking through the drywall, and you can see them as like little dots. You're going to see paint, any insufficiencies, any finishings that weren't done properly, grout that was done sloppy, things like that I always look for. You're going to make sure the water turns on and off, the toilet's flush, stuff like that. So the reason they do that 2 weeks before you actually close escrow is because that gives them time to go in there and make those repairs. But a lot of times they don't always happen before you close. Number 10 is the final walkthrough. Be very diligent on the final walkthrough. This is when you went in to make sure that they did everything that they said they were going to do at the new home orientation, where they give you your binder, that they fixed the nail pops coming out of the ceiling, that they touched up the paint where there were smudges and dings and marks, doors that weren't closing and opening properly, that they fixed all that kind of stuff, doorknobs that weren't working. So it's real important there. But at this point, we're going to walk around and look for anything new. We're going to look to see if anything occurred in the last 2 weeks. And so while you're doing that, we're going to write a list. It's called the punch list. The superintendent will be there at the frame walk, and we're going to be looking at things. And then they're going to say, oh yeah, we didn't notice this. We're going to fix it. We're going to take care of that, because we're closing escrow. So we want to get a promissory note, pretty much is what it is, from the builder that they will come in and repair those. And then you're going to be required to sign that. And then it's real important that we get a copy. A lot of times you don't get a copy, and you want to make sure, hey, what was everything that we wrote down? Did you write that on there? Because who knows, if you don't, they could change that form. And I've seen actually people do it. So you're going to just look to ensure that anything that we did, it was done. Also, it's important to understand the builder warranty. Most builders have a warranty that's called a 210 warranty. So a lot of times it's just 1 year to 2 year. Structural issues, any of the appliances, of course, for 1 year, but any structural issues, doors, windows that aren't working properly, anything that's having problem with the house, they're going to warranty that. But after 2 years, that goes away. They're not covering that anymore. The only thing they do for the next 8 years is other type of warranties that, came with the house. So it would be something that was a defect in their building, something like that they had, some structural issues, or just something that the roofs weren't put on correctly, or there was an issue how they engineered something and now most of the places around you are having problems. That's something real important. So you always want to report those timely, because I'll get around to it. No, you immediately notify. And every builder will have a policy. You'll have a portal where you log in, and as soon as something isn't working properly, even if it's slightly, windows aren't going up right, they may have been framed wrong, you definitely want to notify the builder as soon as possible so that it's covered under the warranty. Realtors, that's another thing that we do, is we ensure that they're honoring their word, and their reputation's everything. That's the last thing they want, is a realtor out there telling people that they weren't honoring their warranties, or they weren't providing good service, or doing any real building. In my 18 years of working in real estate, I've done residential sales, I've done land development, lot sales, land sales. But for many years, I worked for a very prominent builder. And during that time, I was required to be new home sales agent certified and residential construction certified, which I had to understand, of course, the entire building process. I'm not a licensed contractor, but I just had to be certified in residential construction, understanding of everything from lot preparation, laying the foundation, whether the soils test came back, it was expansive soil, and the builder needed to put a post-tension slab to make the house a little bit more stable. A post-tension slab is where they lay the foundation, but they have steel cables into the cement, and when it dries, they pull the cables really tight. It just gives a little bit more stability. But my point on this is that it's real important, if you don't understand the complete building process, that you do have a real estate agent there that does understand that can walk you through it and make sure that all of your interest is protected, because you are literally spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, not only for the lot premium, for the base price of the house, for all the upgrades, all the landscaping. So it's a lot of money. You definitely want to make sure that you are paying attention through the process. Like I said earlier, it can be 12 to 14 months. Average right now is 10 to 11 months here in our area where that is working. But be really diligent. It can be a wonderful thing. I've lived in lots of new homes myself, and I was present throughout the build process. I paid attention. I ensured that everything that I wanted was delivered. I made sure that the crews that were building my house, from the electricians, from the framers, from the finishers, from the painters, to the drywallers, to the stucco applicators, that they were doing their job right and they were qualified. So it's going to be real important, because you're spending lots of money. So with that, if you have any other questions, feel free to message us or reach out to us below. I'm happy to answer any of your questions and help you along your way if you do decide to make that decision to buy a new home, because we definitely know there's more than 10 things you need to know, but just wanted to get a quick video off to you guys. Thank you.